So I think we should start with Max. What was the initial conception for this film?
The initial conception. Well, I'm sure this is a good audience to watch a film like this because the initial conception was probably an experience we've all had, which is making films, short films, some kind of feature films that don't turn into feature films maybe once you put them in the edit bay. Yeah, the whole idea was basically, I think that we had just come off making our first feature film. My two collaborators are right here, part of Dirty Shot Clean. We got David, San Miguel, a co-writer, very important title, as well as Jacob Souza, the director of photography. And, we've made a bunch of films together, short films, and our first feature film, at 2, which hilariously enough, and it came out a month after this movie, because that's just how things work. And we had just a lot of material to work with off of our own experience, trying to do our best to make movies, and then often, things happen. So I think the main thing was we kind of determined if we were making a movie, and like an actual demon was terrorizing the set, we would probably just chalk it up to, just the chaos of making movies. And we would just keep, we got 5 pages tomorrow, so we got to do that. So that's like, once we had that nugget, I think it kind of all fell out of that. And then we found some really cool actors to play all the parts, and that helped too.
Did you feel like you were exercising some demons of bad experiences you've maybe had on other sets?
It's a lot of I wouldn't have put anything in the movie that I didn't personally. I love all the characters, the situations. If you think anyone did anything stupid in this thing, I've done a 10 times stupider thing that we had to cut because you're like, no one would believe someone would do that. So yeah, it comes. I think anyone who's involved in making movies, you do have to embrace the chaos, which was, do you guys remember? That was the thesis I wrote on the script in the beginning. I said, embrace the chaos. On the first day, when our first AD tore his hair out, and he was like, what the fuck are you talking? I mean, what the hell are you talking? Yeah, sorry. I don't know what is the deal with that.
I am unaware. I've not been told, so I say,
fantastic.
Great, we're on board. I don't know. We might be demonetized on YouTube.
Thumbs up. We got a thumbs up. Thumbs up? All right. What the? No. Yeah.
Speaking of your great actors, could you talk about the casting process and how you brought everybody together?
Yeah, so it was a mix of people that we'd worked with in the past. In this case, Rachel was in our first film at 2. She was fantastic. We just wanted to find another role for her. And once Danielle Radcliffe came up, and the funniest thing with Rachel is we knew we had to nail that one like kind of monologue where it's a total ripoff of the Blair Witch, and she has to crush it though, right? Because then you kind of feel like, oh, I get it, that sort of thing. It's like, all right, well, Rachel's like the best crier I've ever met in my entire life. So she's great. And then Brennan, he was in our first movie at 2, and he plays the dumbest character who, not to spoil it, but something unfortunate happens to him pretty early. And on the page, it wasn't a very rewarding, character to play. You could play it very simply, and he played this dumb guy in a very complex way. So then we had this other character, which was Chase, who on the page when we had the screenplay was maybe like not the guy you'd want to like grab a beer with, because he just would probably talk about Citizen Kane being the best movie, So who do we find to play this part and actually make him very lovable? And I was like, Brennan's going to crush that. So that made that easy for those 2 parts. Lock those down. But then there were a lot of parts that we had no idea who we were going to find. So American Movie, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that documentary, but there's a character, there's a real life person who was a huge inspiration for Pete. So we auditioned a lot of people, and we knew there needed to be a singing element, but also just a certain Pete's kind of our final girl, So yeah, someone that you kind of, the aloof guy who just happens to be the hero of his own thing. And yeah, we found first Alan on, it was like, for you it was Actors Access, right? Straight up Actors Access. We did a backstage / Actors Access sort of process for this, but I think for both you guys it was Actors Access. Yeah. And Alan didn't look at all like I thought the character would. I thought the character would be kind of more traditional, I don't know, a larger gentleman, shall we say. But he's kind of like Johnny Depp looking kind of guy. But it's the qualities within that made him Pete to us, and he did a great job. And then Chen, So that was another. Mitchell is another part you could cast. Like, I mean, I feel like that's a classic Office character, right? Someone you could have cast. There's a very traditional way to cast that role, and he was the only one who came in with this thing that Mitchell's super religious for some reason. And it was just hilarious. And then he also is a fantastic physical actor. I think, as you guys saw in like in his nightmare sequence and everything like that. And the coolest thing is all these people are absolutely incredible to work with and super collaborative. And yeah, I've never had a better on-set experience than making this movie. So thank you guys.
Great.
Yeah, thanks.
And for all the actors, what do you remember what your first response was when you got the script and started reading what you're possibly getting yourself into?
Can I go first? Only because it's about you, Brennan. When I read it, I mean, there's so few times I've read thousands and thousands of scripts over a decade of acting, and it's very rare when you just get really locked in. And I remember just laughing out loud throughout the whole read. Mm-hmm. And immediately, and I had already shot at 2 and I had acted opposite Brennan. And immediately I called Max and Tyler, one of our producers, and I was like, is Chase Brennan? Brennan is Chase. Chase is Brennan, right? I don't know why. I just was convinced. I saw him, I heard him, and I was right. And it just made me very, very excited because I knew, like you said, that character was going to have to be lovable, although quirky and kind of weird and kind of self-absorbed. I don't know. That's just that you would still have to want to root for him. And I knew Brennan, as wonderful as he is, would be able to make that blend and have an audience still root for him. So I love Brennan.
Thank you. I love you, yes. Rachel.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I can go next. So, hi, hello. Yeah, honestly, reading it, I immediately felt like I knew what it was and what was happening. Like, you talk about getting locked in on a script. Like, I read it and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm this guy. I can do this. I felt it. Like, and I saw all the parts and I just felt like I clocked it immediately. We talked pretty early on about influences. You mentioned American Movie. I watched that and I was like, hell yeah, dude, I love it. So it was honestly instant for me. As soon as I even saw the breakdown. When I saw the breakdown on actors' access, I was like, I got to be that guy. I can do this. Yeah.
Guess it's me now. Similar to these two guys. As soon as I read the script, I remember I was like crying, laughing, reading the script, and that doesn't happen that often, you know. And usually, hopefully, it's a comedy. You know, if it's a comedy, you're gonna laugh, but that happens less often than you would think.
Yeah.
But when I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see how this comes out. Even if on the page it's already like that, you know it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good ride. So I'm just happy to be, on board.
We did we did at 2 together, Matt, and then we were trying to find something to do, and we were going to do like a thriller. We're going to do this kind of like gritty thriller set in the Midwest in this forest in a secluded area. And then Max and the guys sat me down for coffee one day and they were like, hey, put that on hold. How do you feel about a mockumentary? I was like, heck yeah, because I grew up on Christopher Guest films like A Mighty Wind and Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show. So I've been like so good. And I love the kind of like grounded silliness of the performances that those kinds of films yield. So for me, it was like the easiest. And then I read the script and it was just further proof that like, we have to do this. We absolutely have to do this. And the cool thing about the script was that it was all beaded out like beautifully, but there was a lot of room for actors to kind of bring what they wanted to the table as well. It's kind of like a really cool kind of unfinished canvas in a way where we could kind of color it in our own way. And then, of course, the guys just gave us so much freedom on set. So it was an amazing working environment too. So easy decision. It was awesome.
And it sounds like those kind of improvisational elements dated back to the auditions, like with bringing new things to the characters that people were reading for.
Yeah, so our audition was not a traditional audition, and I think it's really important to just underscore how much improvisation went into the movie. There was basically, you guys watch Curb Your Enthusiasm? Are you guys familiar with that? With that, I think they just write the situations, and then they kind of like, oh yeah, do the whole thing. In this case, we wrote situations, then we wrote like lines for a first take, and then second take, they kind of went off the lines, and third take, they did their own thing, and very often the funniest stuff, and like the scene where he doesn't know how to hold the camera, which I die every single time. That was like 1/8 of a page, right, on the script, in the script, and then they just went for 5 minutes, and we just didn't cut anything. We just like, let's just do that because that seems hilarious to us. So that was something that was pretty intentional. We wanted actors who could do that thing, which is a unique thing because a lot of actors kind of, and I totally understand the impulse, like you kind of want to be the joke in every single scene, but a lot of times in those sorts of scenes, it's key to just not kind of like what is the realistic thing that would happen here, and eventually the joke will come on the other side of that. So for our audition, we just kind of said. Well, our casting director's right here, as a matter of fact. It was one. Give us your name and your role. 2, your biggest influences or something, or what's your dream job? Like, what are you aspiring to be? And then 3, I believe it was, what do you look for in your partner, like in a romantic partner? So it kind of gave a lot of freedom to people there's some immediately you're thinking about like the first choice and then the second choice, and then we often chose people that kind of surprised us with the answer that they gave while still being super grounded. We also have Dan Jablon's in the back over here. He's Bert, the mysterious. Yeah. Yeah.
And I haven't read the script yet, by the way.
He's a fantastic example of this. He plays the mysterious guy who comes in on the page, very kind of. I was thinking like long trench coat, sort of guy, very Matrix sort of vibe. And he just his audition was like he was basically like a lawyer talking about demons, and it was just so grounded and funny. I was like, all right, we got to get this guy in here. So basically, anytime someone kind of surprised us a little bit while still being very realistic, we kind of went with them. So that was the way that, and you guys actually had to go through that. You guys were blessed, right? You didn't. We're just. Yeah.
You were pointing to?
You're like, yeah. But you guys had to go through that process. What was it like? Actually, putting your tape together. Was it something that took a lot of takes, or was it like, no, this feels right?
No, I remember. Well, now you mention it, I'm like, I did a lot more than you just mentioned because you sent the scene. Right, that we had to tape, and it was the scene with the one like, yeah, I'm totally fine, and with me and Natalie, and then it was like 4 or 5 long questions that you had to do. So I was like, I had my friend in town who. It's a really wonderful actor, and I was like, hey, I'm going to put this thing on tape. Will you be my interviewer? We're just going to cut it into like an actual interview tape. And that was what went through my head. And I thought a lot. I was like, wow, these are some pretty in-depth questions. I'm going to like sit here and think about this life, this guy, And for some reason, I don't know what, maybe I saw a crucifix. I don't know. But I was like, I was like, I'm getting the sense of religious. I'm just gonna run with that and let's see where that goes. And so yeah, that when I actually put it together, and I didn't really take too many takes. It was, especially with something, the improv part especially. I think sometimes if you catch it in the moment, and so it probably only take like 1 or 2 takes, and we sent it off.
Beautiful work.
I'm fishing for a compliment here.
With the rest of the cast, are there character beats that you remember finding in the moment that made it into the final film?
Yeah, this is a tiny thing. I remember, a lot of it developed over time too, right? Because there was so much of this like improv and like so much room for us to make choices that we thought would work, and it was just such a collaborative. There's a lot of this, I think, that happened in the movie. A tiny thing that I remember for me was I remember thinking, I'm going to have snacks. I'm going to have snacks with me a lot. Like every time I'm doing something. And because we had even like these, like there was so much of the film that had to get cut just for time, right? But like we had all these things for like talking heads and things like that. and all this stuff that we'd worked on. And so some of that stuff, even though it got cut out of like the movie, the talking head choices, for example, like Pete in the talking head, I talk about not having a place to stay and finding the listing on Craigslist because I was looking for homes and I couldn't find anything I could afford. So I just found a job. And so stuff like that. And so it just little things like that where I was like, I'm just going to have snacks a bunch. I think this is going to be, and then they just let me do it. And then it became, just little things like that. Just there's so much little tiny things I think that made it through to the final version of the film that we all kind of picked up.
Yeah, the whole thing was so collaborative. It was crazy.
Super.
What are you gonna say, Brennan?
Well, for me, it was the opening scene, which was like Max and the guys went up to me and they're like, "Yo, we got like 20 minutes. We're ahead of schedule," which never happens. And they're like, "Do you got anything?" And I was like, "I really don't, but you never say no. You never say no." So I went in my phone really fast and I went in my notes app and I started like writing down what I thought my character would say when everything was falling apart. And I went back to this documentary called Heart of Darkness. And it's like Francis Ford Coppola is like in the middle of the woods when he's shooting Apocalypse Now, and his shirt is off and he's sweating and everything was falling apart around him. People were like ODing on set and he's like, "Everything's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. This is what a real artist goes through, okay?" And I was like, I need to challenge that. So roll camera, let's go. and didn't think it was gonna make the cut of the movie at all, but ended up being the opening.
Yeah, I think that day I just see you huddled on a stump, like chain smoking a cigarette with somebody with the camera in your face. I was like, what are they doing?
Surviving.
By the way, as far as audition goes, I just have to call out one more person. We have the kind of Alan Rickman in the house as well. Yeah, let's go. Christian T. Chan, everybody. Yeah, he was for some reason he was in that too, and he was one person who I just thought could be Alan Rickman, and we didn't audition anybody else. He sent in the tape and he booked the dang. That was it for me.
So it was written for Alan.
It was kind of written for you, Christian. It was kind of written for you.
So we have 2 Harry Potter cast members here with us tonight. Yes. Yeah. And Rachel, you had to not only embody your character of Danielle, but then her embodying another character of Dawn. How did you, kind of balance those?
I am Rachel playing Danielle, confused for Daniel playing Drew. It goes back to, I think, just a manifestation of me at 14 reading Harry Potter like it was going to save my life. It was really fun. I obviously knew the bit and what was going to happen. I just think that myself and Daniel should be doing a sketch about this is what I'm proposing. So if anybody has a hookup to Daniel, I think that would be a great idea.
I'm also really curious about the coverage of the film. Obviously, you have the documentary footage that you're shooting. You have the found footage that you're shooting. Is that happening simultaneously? Do you have separate setups and days for the doc footage versus the camcorder footage?
Right. We ran it all at the same time. So like what was really cool was that even though it was a pretty truncated shoot, we shot 13 days but we had more material than we've ever had because we shot 2 doc cams at the same time. And then we also had the found footage camera too, which was really what Brennan was recording when he was doing that, that little thing. So it was it was at first very terrifying as a director. Our last movie at 2 was a total opposite thing. The movie only cut together like one way, and this shot has to cut to that shot, has to cut that shot. If we don't have this shot, then the whole thing doesn't work. This was the exact opposite. It was like we have so much material from 3 different cameras. What's the thing to use? So I think the majority of the editing process was losing our favorite jokes, unfortunately, which, there's full scenes that, are my favorite scenes in the script that they just don't make the movie because you have to keep pushing the narrative forward, which in mockumentary is kind of the hardest thing. Like, how do you keep a driving narrative, especially through the second and third act? So, yeah.
With all those cameras for the actors, does that mean in a sense that you are always on? There's always a chance you're in a frame somewhere. So how did you all navigate that?
I definitely felt like I was always on, and I was like specifically like when we were on, I was like, all right, I got to be in here the whole time we're doing this thing. But it was mostly, actually, honestly, it was so easy to do this with everyone else, the improv aspects as well, because there was Max said this for himself too, that it was his favorite process that he's worked on in a film. Same, by a mile. There was so much mutual trust between everybody in the cast that you think even earlier Max mentioned this idea of like this pressure sometimes to like be the joke. Yeah. That was gone because I wasn't always the joke. Somebody else is going to handle it. We just needed to all interact. So there was that was always on, but I was just constantly looking for whoever was in the cast, and we would make eye contact and then just do whatever we would be doing. So it was that aspect of it. It felt like it was sort of, although it was maybe challenging, or like I felt like there's always an angle I might be getting caught at. It felt very, very easy to stay focused. Yeah.
It's also funny because you have like a crew of people filming this thing, and then inside of that circle are people filming another movie inside of it, right? So, yeah, I guess, did you guys ever feel like, was that weird for you? I never really thought about that, actually. Was it weird? Like, because you're directing and I'm right there.
I was losing my mind the whole shoot, man. I don't know who I was half the time. I thought it was great having multicam. It definitely, it gives you more time throughout the day too, because I feel like we're always ahead of schedule.
Yes.
So, we kind of give us more time to create, and it was already such a comfortable set anyway, and everybody was just leaning on each other and like loving each other up. So I loved it. I thought it was a great format to work in.
Yeah, I think the whole cast, I mean, one of the fun things for me was seeing that everybody knew when to take space and when to put the ball up for others. Totally. And a lot of times everybody's just kind of in it together. So it really, at least from my part, it didn't really feel like any extra pressure. If anything, we're probably going to get some kind of reaction that I'm just naturally having while I'm looking at somebody doing something, which ends up making the final cut, which is what happens in the moment, right? So if anything, it was like I kind of welcomed it. And everybody on this cast was, I mean, we lost so much stuff on the cutting room floor. Yeah. There's so much material that we were laughing. I think we laughed for weeks on end during the shoot. So so it was a really fun experience for me. Probably similar to Ellen, one of my highlights of experiences on set for me.
I just lost the ability to make eye contact with Brennan whenever he was holding the camera, or else I just couldn't keep it together. Like, could not. I was like, I can't look at your forehead. Okay, cool. It started.
Oh, we got the cameraman, by the way, himself.
Yes, he's here.
There he is, J.R. Gomez.
Yes.
Let's go.
The ridiculousness of the physical aspect of it. Yeah. It started in the car when he was sitting on his lap and he's filming me and his glasses. I'll never forget it. His glasses pushed over to the side, and literally I'm seeing Brennan's one eyeball. I got one eyeball making eye contact. And I was like, we can't do it. I can't keep it. I'm gonna break every single time.
I don't think we got a clean take of that.
So this was actually a problem, what she's talking about. So we were coming up on lunch, right? And we had to get that one shot, and they kept breaking over and over again. And so while we're rolling on it, we have the take of me coming, we have 2 minutes to get this shot right now. So amid everything else hilarious happening, you just have to imagine me all sweaty coming, you guys.
Which made everything worse because you want to laugh harder. It's like,
No, yeah, the snake is eating itself, right? Like we've turned it into its own. Yeah.
How do, obviously low budget filmmaking has many stresses. It can be a very high stakes environment, even at the lowest of budgets. How did you find a way to keep that sense of play and trust and lightness amongst the cast and crew?
It was a lot. I mean, you have to have, a lot of it comes down to casting to begin with. So if you have the right alchemy of people, then that's really important. I think the trust thing you guys are talking about is huge. And I think once you guys saw that it really is kind of your movie, that helped me a lot because I was super scared at first. I was really scared making this movie. I had no control over anything. And I had no idea how it was going to go. And from the first scene we did with the Sarah Susan scene, I don't know if you guys see, she's the casting director. She's really funny. And it was really cool because that was the first time where so often you're used to having to like try to beat something into existence when it comes to filmmaking. And because I had the two cams running at the same time, I could watch both of the takes run simultaneously. And I'm a huge Office fan. I'm sure you guys are a huge Office fan. And on the first take of the first thing, I was like, damn, this is kind of reminding me of The Office right now. That was a pretty freeing feeling. So from there on, I'm sure I relaxed a little bit. I mean, I'm probably free. My head was shaved. I was crazy still. But I really felt I did.
We had 3 people. We had 3 people shave their heads during the course.
No, I think that part of it was there was a genuine feeling that we have the right people in this room, and if we just if we set up an environment, there's no reason for us to get mad at each other. This is a movie about making movies. It's so meta. Let's just embrace all that and have fun. And then everyone got a kick out of the script on top of that too. So I think that I'd have to do some pretty stupid things to mess it up at that point. So I kind of just shut up. But I didn't give many notes. I mean, at 2, I'm like, the whole time. I don't think I talked much during that. I feel like I was like, okay, do this. Oh, you can move this way a little bit, That's
It was all minor stuff like that. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys crushed.
Give him 3 cigarettes in this take. Yeah.
It's a good shot.
How was filming in the elements out in the woods? Did that provide with some challenges?
Yeah, how was it for you? I mean, for us, it was I was comfy. How was it for you guys?
I felt like I was going camping. It was awesome.
There was one scene where we were doing late at night, and I had shorts on. And that was like, and it was May, but it was in like we're in the mountains and stuff. That was the only time I was cold. That was it. Otherwise, it was beautiful. So, I mean, it was only like a little bit. It was a great time.
Great little town, Camp Nelson, and it was, we ate more cookies there in that little town than they had sold in the last 3 years. So it was that sort of...
They sold you those old cookies.
Yeah, they sold some old cookies. Yeah. And it was just a really... once we got there, it was very stressful getting there, but once we got there, it really was this little magical thing. And I always love that part of the movie when they start making the movie up there. We gotta talk. We gotta talk to each other. He rounds the thing. It always reminds me of being up there because... we're doing the same thing that they're doing, right? So one day we'll go back.
California?
Yeah, it was
California.
Spoil.
Right in the foothills. Yeah.
Yeah. Where Bigfoot lurks.
Yes. Were there moments where you were realizing that life was imitating art? Obviously, we're watching in the film as you are figuring out costumes and wardrobe and locations and how closely did some of those challenges match the representation on screen?
Was there anything you guys were watching us, the film, because for me, I'm just like, we got to get this. I can't really remember anything directly making the movie, but was it for you guys anything?
Yeah, I feel like, because we also shot a lot of the LA stuff, obviously, here in LA, right in the beginning. And then I remember you guys were warning us, okay, so we'll probably be pretty free form when we're in LA. And then when we get to the mountains and it starts to become more of the horror elements that have to come in, it starts to get pretty organized. Mm-hmm. So if anything, it actually felt really tight and pretty organized. I don't know if it feel like that for you guys. When we got to the cabin, as soon as we got to the cabin, when things started happening, we were like, oh, okay, now things we're like on. It got more organized as things got more created, chaotic in the story.
Mm-hmm. Look this way, look that way.
Yeah.
I will say by the end we definitely all as a cast and crew I think had the running joke going of like, well, what level of like reality are we in? Right?
Yeah.
So that was something, because we were all by the end we're like, I don't even remember who's, like, I was playing Pete. We had a guy on set named Peter. We also had Alan. I go by Alan. So there was just so many. One of our ADs was named Natalie. There was all these things happening, and then like if you got a sharp eye, like a bunch of the crew's in the movie too. So everybody's in there like in different spots, and so we're like they're in backgrounds and stuff like that or whatever, right? Like they're around, and we're like, how? Where are
you
we?
in this world right now?
Yeah. And it's like, who's who anymore? Yeah. So because we're all just living together up there too. It's so isolated. Yeah.
At one point, Brennan did call last looks. And our makeup girl said, all clear, because she was like doing other stuff.
Yeah, from upstairs. Yeah. I know. I was like, who was that? And everyone was so great to work with. Shout out to Erica Vetter, too, who played Natalie, and Dean Cameron, who played Frank. They were monsters. They're just so freaking talented and awesome. So just shout out to them. They were great. Everyone was so great on the set.
So it sounds like it was a really magical time. Our time is about up. So I'm curious, is there a particular lesson or something that you will take with you from this experience that you'll bring with you to your next or future projects?
Not to over rehearse people to death, and to let your cast the right actors who are excited and understand the project, and then hand the baton and film them well, and work with what they're giving you, because cool things happen when you empower really great actors.
Here to that. I'm as an actor, I'm definitely guilty of like over preparation, and just trust, because some of the magic moments come out of you don't know what's gonna happen, but your point of view, everything, your life, who this person is, and then just like something happens, and you're like, I didn't expect to say that. So that's a big lesson for me.
I would say trusting an ability for discernment of when to say yes and no to projects. Oftentimes we see low budget and it means something, and I don't think it actually does. There's not a value to that. The ability to say yes because you believe in a script, the ability to say yes because you believe in the filmmakers, that's a really lovely place to be, and to, I think, trust when you believe in a project and the people behind it. Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. Absolutely. I feel like sometimes I have to defend why I choose to do the things I want to do. And this was a great example of go with your gut and trust the people around you. For me, like this just set the bar for an experience with a bunch of collaborators. My takeaway is I'm always going to look back on this with great fondness.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, same. I'll echo that last little bit that like it's at the bar. I think a little bit for I was like, oh, okay, damn, okay, it can be like this. It can be this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They get a clear vision of like this is what it is. This is what's possible here, even on a low budget. Like really, you know what I mean? Like yeah, set a high bar.
Well, thank you all for sharing this film with us.
Thank you.
Here for the cast and director of Found Footage, the making of the Patterson Project. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.